Imagine working for a company where employees actually loved coming into work. There were thank yous, holiday gifts, even little traditions that made everyone feel valued. Now imagine, overnight, all of that being ripped away by one cold, power-hungry HR director who seemed to enjoy destroying people's lives. Well, that's exactly what happened. Until karma came knocking, and the entire company turned her own cruelty against her. If you've ever had a terrible boss who seemed to live for making others miserable, hit that like button. Subscribe if you believe in workplace karma, because today's story is one of the most satisfying cases of poetic justice you'll ever hear. Back in the mid-90s, I was working as an HR manager for a company that, believe it or not, actually cared about its employees. This wasn't the kind of place where HR was out to police every tiny mistake or make your life miserable. My job was to support the employees, and it mattered to me that people felt respected. We had traditions that made people feel valued. Every Thanksgiving, the company gave out a turkey and $100 bill to every single employee. Not just managers, not just executives, everyone. And then there was Secretaries' Day, what they called it back then. Our managers loved showing appreciation for their assistants and aides. Some would buy flowers, others would take their staff to lunch, and almost everyone included a heartfelt card or a check. It wasn't mandatory. It wasn't corporate policy. It was just people being human. The truth is, our company demanded a lot of hours. Assistants poured themselves into the work, often sacrificing evenings and weekends. These little traditions were our way of saying, "We see you. We appreciate you." I thought that culture would live on long after I left. But then came her. When I announced I'd be leaving, I gave plenty of notice so I could train my replacement. I wanted a smooth transition. But the company also decided to bring in a brand new HR director. The moment I met her, something felt off. She had this polished exterior, perfectly pressed suit, practiced corporate smile, but underneath, there was this edge. A hunger to control, not to help. You know that kind of person who walks into a room and immediately wants to prove they're the smartest, toughest one there? That was her. And one of the very first things she did, she banned Secretaries' Day. Her reasoning: what if one boss forgets to participate? The neglected secretary could feel bad and possibly sue the company. I swear to you, that was her logic. Not how can we celebrate employees fairly. Not how can we improve recognition. No, her first instinct was, shut it all down. I remember sitting there, stunned. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. These weren't legal risks. These were moments of kindness. But she seemed almost proud of herself for tearing it away. And that was just the beginning. One by one, the little traditions that made people feel human disappeared. Turkeys, the gifts, any sense of joy was stripped out of the workplace, replaced by her cold, bureaucratic rules. And then, she started firing people. Not because of poor performance, not because of downsizing, but because she wanted to. Co-workers told me later that it seemed like she took pleasure in it. That little glint in her eye when she called someone into her office. The smug way she'd make them sit through a humiliating lecture. One woman in particular became her target. No one really knew why. Maybe it was personal. Maybe she just didn't like her face. But this HR director started building a case, documenting every tiny fabricated infraction until she finally pulled the trigger. And the way she did it, despicable. It happened on Take Your Kids to Work Day. This poor woman was sitting at her desk with her children beside her, proud to show them where she worked. And the HR director called her in, no warning, and fired her. Right there, in front of her kids. But she didn't stop there. Our company had never escorted people out. We didn't even have security guards. But she ordered the mailroom guys to walk this crying mother and her sobbing children out of the building, all the way to their car. The mailroom staff were apologizing the whole time, saying they were just following orders. The kids were in tears. The mother was humiliated. And you know what burned the most? When I was HR manager, if someone had to be let go, I sat down with them. I helped polish resumes, suggested open positions at other companies, and even connected them to recruiters. Because losing a job isn't the end. It can be the start of something better. But she seemed to relish making it the most painful day of someone's life. She thought this made her powerful, but she had no idea karma was already circling back. Her reign of terror didn't last long. Within her first year, the higher-ups started realizing she wasn't the brilliant director she pretended to be. Morale was plummeting, people hated coming to work, productivity suffered, and complaints, real complaints, started piling up. Finally, the company decided she had to go. And here's where it gets poetic. Remember how she loved to fire people publicly, escorting them out, making sure the whole office could see their shame? Well, the company decided to give her a taste of her own medicine. One morning, without warning, she was called into a meeting. She was told she was done, effective immediately. No notice, no graceful exit, no references, and then she was escorted out, past all the employees she'd spent a year tormenting. Some of them clapped, others smirked. And for once, she was the one walking that humiliating path out the door. Word spread fast. The same town where she'd blacklisted so many people now wanted nothing to do with her. No company wanted to hire her. Her name had become toxic. It wasn't a perfect mirror of the pain she caused, but it was a start. And it was more than enough to send a clear message. Treat people with cruelty, and eventually, cruelty will come for you. What I learned watching all this unfold is simple. You can run a company with fear or with respect. Fear might work for a while, but respect lasts. And in the end, no one remembers the tyrants fondly. They remember the people who cared. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and subscribe for more satisfying tales of workplace karma. And tell me in the comments, what's the worst thing your boss has ever done? And did they ever get what they deserved?